Happy Halloween, everybody! Since it's the spookiest time of year, I thought it would be fitting to make a video in the spirit of the season. There are plenty of horror icons out there for me to talk about, like the Headless Horseman, Dracula, and everyone's favorite Squidman. But you know me, I like shedding light on lesser-known icons. Hence why today's video is about Camazotz. If you know anything about Camazotz, you probably think of him as a Maya bat god. As with a lot of Native American deities though, there's a lot more to him than just his looks and what he's a god of. His origins are kinda hazy, and we're about to explore them now. In the Maya religion, Camazotz is depicted as a man with bat wings and a bat head. This has led some articles online to call him the Maya Batman, but that's not entirely accurate. If you're familiar with Batman lore at all, Camazotz is more like a Maya man-bat. Admittedly, the Maya Batman just makes for a more clickable title, I suppose, so we'll give them a pass. In the Maya language Quiche, a language from Guatemala, Camazotz's name literally translates to death bat, and as mentioned previously, he is the god of the night, death, and sacrifice. The night part, that's pretty obvious. Bats are nocturnal, so of course a god based off of a bat would be a god of the night. The sacrifice part I'll get into more later, but for now, we're gonna control his connection with death, and Camazotz's only appearance in Maya mythology. The Popol Vuh is our main source for Maya mythology, and it'll get its own video, or videos, in the future. For now though, we're going over Camazotz's role in the story. The Popol Vuh starts with our twin hero gods of Maya mythology, Wanapu and Xiblanque. These two brothers are going on an adventure into the underworld. You know, a regular Tuesday for hero gods, and they're going into the underworld by means of a cave. Eventually, the brothers find a place to lie down because this is a multi-day road trip. Unfortunately for them, they fell asleep in the House of Bats, and while sleeping, they're awoken by a swarm flying overhead. The brothers duck under some cover, and Xiblanque tells Wanapu to check and see if the sun has risen. These guys must have forgot they were in a cave or something, because the sun's not gonna shine into the cave. Wanapu raises his head to check for the sun, but Camazotz swoops in and immediately rips his head off. Don't worry about Wanapu though, he is a god, so he continues living, even without a head. Xiblanque knows that his brother would prefer to have a head, so they go to get it back. In the meantime though, Wanapu is running around with a squash on his head. While the brothers are sorting out the squash head issue, Camazotz takes the head further into the underworld to show off to the other underworld gods as a new trophy. And what do they do with this new trophy, you ask? They use it as a ball for their sport game. Yeah, normally the trophy comes after the game, but you know, I ain't gonna judge. The brothers followed Camazotz and they challenged the underworld gods to a game. And thanks to some trickery, because everybody loves the underdogs, they won and they got Wanapu's head back. The myth doesn't specify if Camazotz played in the game, but I didn't want to leave you guys hanging, which is why I'm talking about this sport game, even though it's unclear if Camazotz is directly involved in the game. I'll go into more detail on this story when I make a Popol Vuh video, or videos. Now there is something I should point out about this story. It's unclear if Camazotz is supposed to be a name applied to all bats, some bats, or just one in particular. Academia used to think it was a name for all bats, but in recent years that has come into question. The main thought process is that identifying every bat as Camazotz might be an oversimplification of the Maya religion. The bat iconography might be more complex than we initially thought. We can't know for sure though, because, you know, a lot of the Mayans kinda died. Bats have symbology relating to death and sacrifice as originally thought, but they could also have fertility connections, be messengers of the gods, and other more positive traits that you don't normally think about when you think bats. I'm not really qualified to talk about this, but if you're curious, the paper Bats and the Camazotz, Correcting a Century of Mistaken Identity by James E. Brady and Jeremy D. Coltman go into more detail. I'll link them below. And lastly, let's talk about Camazotz's last deific domain. This is a shorter one, and another part of the Popol Vuh, a being called Camazotz, enters the human world and he makes a deal with the king. The deal is humans must give up their armpits and their waists, and in exchange, humans are allowed the knowledge of fire. This armpit and waist thing is basically saying they have to give up their torsos in exchange for fire. Humans realize without their torso, they lose their ability to do anything really, so they decide to sacrifice people to the gods instead. Okay, that's all the mythology stuff out of the way. So here's one last Camazotz theory for you before you go. In North America, there were these animals called megafauna, which are kind of giant versions of the animals we know today. Now, I'm not a zoologist, so what I said is probably just a vast oversimplification. Don't take me at my word. But I will tell you, there was a giant version of a bat in Mesoamerica. It's called the Desmodus draculae. This now extinct bat had a wingspan of 20 inches, or 50 centimeters, and it's theorized by some that when ancient North Americans came into the Mesoamerica, they encountered these creatures, and that's what inspired Camazotz. And honestly, considering how big these bats are, yeah, I don't blame you for thinking this thing is gonna fly down and rip your head off. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video about Camazotz. Maya mythology as a whole is very interesting, and I can't wait to talk about it more in the future. As a reminder, this video is part of a collaboration with several other mythology channels, so be sure to check out their stuff when you're done with this video. If you want to discuss more mythology or see memes, follow me on Twitter and join my Discord for more. Thank you for watching, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see more, and have a safe and spooky Halloween.